this castle, sir.
It touches the church.
In the evenings, it touches it.
Whose castle? Count Dracula? Is that who you mean?
This is Mike Price back with you, the author of the Forgotten Horrors series of movie history books. We are continuing here with our survey of the Dracula series from Hammer Films, landing now on Freddie Francis's Dracula Has Risen from the Grave from 1968. Here is the fourth installment as such, and the third to place Christopher Lee in the title role. Hammer Films had allowed a rather cavalier attitude to creep into its publicity campaign for Dracula Has Risen, centering upon an advertising slogan reading, "You can't keep a good man down." Missing now is the Gothic romanticism of the series' original director, Terence Fisher, whose successor, Freddie Francis, applied more of a mechanical structure to scenarist Anthony Hines' tale of an accidental resurrection for the boss vampire known as Dracula. Christopher Lee told me this in 1999. "I was grateful for the bankable identification with the Dracula pictures, but these successive entries tended to prove the axiom that an actor is only as good as his director, and my best director, I think, was Terence Fisher." Now, Lee continued, Freddie Francis was most capable and workmanlike. Primarily a cameraman, he stepped in most efficiently after Terry Fisher had been sidelined in a motoring accident, and Francis brought a can-do attitude that compensated somewhat for his overtness of manner, his lack of the poetic touch that had characterized Fisher's style. Of course, he added, during 1967-1968, the censor's stranglehold in Great Britain and America was loosening somewhat, what the Hollywood trade papers called the New Freedom, and so Francis was free to emphasize an erotic element, a sensuality that had largely been suggested in Hammer's horrors. This quality, I believe, may have proved a distraction from the central tale of Dracula's depredations, especially in the scene-stealing emphasis upon Barbara Ewing as a lust-driven victim. An excellent performance, by the way.
What are you doing here?
Oh, I didn't go home last night.
You've been here all night? But why?
I just didn't feel like going home, that's all. Do you want some coffee?
Hey, what's the matter?
I'm all right. Now, do you want some coffee?
Yes.
Then, too, Lee continued, Dracula Has Risen was our first job away from dear old Bray Studios, the site of some crucial establishing settings of my first two Dracula films. We were now situated at Pinewood Studios in Buckinghamshire, so in a sense, we were starting anew. New director, new setting, and the same old Count Dracula. Risen opens early in the 20th century as two priests struggle through a mountainside storm on a mission to exorcise the abandoned castle of Dracula, lest its shadow continue to corrupt their village.
Wish me well, then?
I do. And may God protect you.
One of them stumbles and lands headfirst upon an outcropping of rock. A patch of ice covers the body of Dracula, who had drowned in the prior misadventure. Blood from the priest's wound resurrects Dracula, who places the priest in thrall. The vampire proceeds to enslave a waitress, Barbara Ewing, while stalking another, Maria, Veronica Carlson, niece of the local Monsignor. The Monsignor, Muller, Rupert Davies, becomes Dracula's chief antagonist. The ordeal ends with Dracula impaled upon a golden crucifix, the same object with which Muller had sought to de-vampirize the castle. Dracula Has Risen from the Grave fared well with the paying customers, becoming Hammer's greatest commercial success to date in both Great Britain and America.
Sed liberanos. Amen. Amen.
The New York Times dismissed the film as junky, a splatter with ketchup or paint or whatever. And the show business trade paper Variety argued that even Dracula himself appears bored at being resurrected.
Does she kiss you like that? I bet she doesn't.
England's monthly film bulletin admired what it called a nice gory opening and a suitably horrific finale. Yet another sequel followed in short order during 1969-1970, with director Peter Sasdy's Taste the Blood of Dracula. We will be arriving at that installment presently. Until then, this is Mike Price signing off.
Get that thing out of my sight!